Are you guilty of sabotaging your own success? Well, if you're like many of our clients or me, you have a tendency of doing an amazing job. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing so great. I'm doing my workouts. I lost all this weight. And then all of a sudden you end up like in the middle of an ice cream cake. And you're like, why did I do that? Or all of a sudden you get on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm down 5 pounds. Like this is totally working. I'm going to go have 5 drinks. Have you ever done that before? Just drop yes if you have. I know you have. We all do that. And in fact, this exact question came in this week, and the client used the phrase, I goof off. Like once I complete my habits, I check the boxes, I go and I goof off. Now I'm about to blow your mind in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you exactly why this happens, because inevitably you've been here before. This has happened to you. You can't stand it. You don't know why you do it, but you keep on freaking doing it. Are you ready to understand why? It all goes back to school. Let me explain. There are 2 ways that you can actually sabotage your success, and all of it, I'm going to tie back to your experience in school, and you're finally going to understand once and for all why you do this, and I'm going to help you to stop doing it. Here we go. The first way is when we complete our habits. We complete our habits. We're like, okay, I got my sleep in, I got my water in, or I got, this client said she gets her protein in. And at the point in the day in which she gets her protein in, she goes and she goofs off because she's like, I hit my goal. Like, I'm good. The other thing that came in is we had a client that really has been struggling. And this is the first weekend that she totally stayed on track. And I'm so proud of her. But prior to that, she would have a little bit of success. We'd lose like a half a pound to a pound, and then she'd come up. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, every time that I do what I'm supposed to be doing, I go and like, I like celebrate. Like, I don't know why I go and I have something that I know I'm not supposed to have, but it's because I saw the scale went down. Okay. Here's why those 2 things happen, right? Complete habit, you goof off, you have some actual like scale victory or success, and you go and you do something that you're not supposed to do. True or true? It all goes back to school. Here we go. I'm like really excited about this. I'm a former public school teacher of 7 years. And so I literally made this connection reading the messages today. I was like, oh my gosh. So in school, you had tests that you had to study for. And if you were like me, or maybe you were more like Mike, where you were like, whatever, I'm just going to sit down and take the test. But if you're like me, I had my note cards, I had my study guides, and I would spend a great deal of time actually studying for the test. I wish I did it out longer. There's some of you that like did it for days leading up. I was a crammer, and I would cram the day or 2 before, sometimes even the morning before. I'm not proud of that at all. But then I'd sit down and I'd take the test. And as soon as the test is done, connect this to checking the habit, getting your protein, getting your sleep, getting your water. What would you do? You worked so hard for that moment of the test. And then as soon as it was done, you're like, all right, I can go relax now, right? I can kind of like kick my feet up a little bit until the next test. And then the same exact pattern or cycle would happen again, where you would cram the night before, knowing full well that you had weeks and months leading up to that point, but you didn't use them effectively. And then all of a sudden the test came and you're like, okay, I can slack. Now, let me take it to the second reason. You'll have a scale victory. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a cookie jar or drinks, whatever it might be. Well, the same is true of we'd work in school to the grade, whether it was a grade on a test, a project, a report card. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But a lot of parents I know would celebrate. Great job on your report card. We went to Carvel. So when I got A's or whatever, it was A's. Mike got C's. I'm just being honest. We're going to be all inclusive here, right? You fall into one of those 2 categories or maybe somewhere in between. Maybe you were a B student. They would take me to Carvel and we would celebrate that. So now fast forward to being an adult. I'm like, I lost 5 pounds. What am I conditioned to do? I'm going to go celebrate. How about in class? When the class did a good job, you would have those teachers that would throw a party. So now we're adults and we're trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but the only reference that we have in our life is tied back to school. And when we had success in school, we celebrated. And so now we're screwing up our diet and messing with our metabolism because we're conditioned to believe that we're supposed to do a certain thing after we check the habit or reach the goal. And that's why so many people backslide. They're conditioned into doing what they've always done. That's pretty freaking messed up when you think about it, because you're like, oh my gosh. Now, you may be listening to this and you're like, that is not me at all. Fine, that's not you at all. But there's something else that happened to you earlier on in life that caused you to do what you do, where you goof off, as this client put it. How do we stop doing that? We have to stop looking at our victories, like checking boxes, as a series of I check it, I celebrate. I lose 5 pounds, I celebrate, right? Our goal is to hit the milestone to get to the eventual goal that's checking off those 4 habits over the course of 21 days, or that's losing the 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, whatever it is you have to lose, and choosing something ahead of time. Like when I do that, then I had a client that went and got a facial. She was like, you know what? When I get to that 30-pound weight loss, I'm going to go and I'm going to get a facial. And she did. And she felt amazing. She celebrated it in a different way. Instead of allowing our default way to be like, I got to celebrate this, right? Like I saw the 5 pounds dropped on the scale. I got to celebrate it. When we know ahead of time that we don't want to do what we've always done, it enables us to choose something different. How about when I check off my 4 habits today, then I'm going to take myself for a walk. It doesn't even have to be anything. When I celebrate my 4 habits, I'm going to post in the Facebook group. When I celebrate my 4 habits, I'm going to give myself a high five. It doesn't even have to be anything monumental, but we have to connect completing it to something different than I go to Carvel and eat ice cream, because that really was my thing for a very long time, being totally transparent. It was like, okay, I lost 10 pounds and then I was in the ice cream container. I'm like, why am I in the freezer? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Well, it's because it's what I did since I was like in 1st grade and all the way through high school. You made the high honor roll. Let's go out and have a dinner. Why are we rewarding ourselves with food? That's why so many of us are so messed up today. And so we sabotage ourselves with our success. And that when we hit like we check the boxes, I'm like, check boxes, or we have a scale victory, right? We actually hit a successful goal. Decondition yourself, deprogram yourself to not celebrate with food, to not do the things that you've done in the past. And I promise you, the more that you practice it, the more second nature it becomes. I know at the end of the day, when I hit my four check boxes, I can actually just relax. That's my reward. I just relax. I'm like, okay, cool, I got it, right? Or in the morning, I got my sleep in. I'm like, okay, just like relax. Otherwise, we start to sabotage ourselves. And there's a whole other conversation we can have about people that then don't check the boxes and they put themselves into a hole of like, well, screw it. I'm not going to do any of the boxes anyway. But today's topic is just simply about success and the 2 ways that success can actually sabotage us. Deprogram yourself. It's the best advice I can give you, right? You're an adult, you're in charge, you're in control, you make your own decisions. Acknowledge where some of these habits came from, because chances are they came from like 8 years old or younger. It's usually where they come from. And how are we going to do it differently going forward? Because you get to decide that. And the more you practice it, the more your brain understands that. And that ultimately is our job, is to be in control of our mind, not let our mind or our stomach dictate what we do. We want to be the ones to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Hey, this is the way that we acknowledge that. This is the way we celebrate that. And that, my friends, is how we get out of the sabotage of success. Don't let your success sabotage you. You still got a bigger goal to hit. Whether it's 21 days or it's 2 years down the road, you still have a bigger goal to hit. Find a different way to celebrate those tiny wins along the way, and everything will transform in the way that you look at your goals. All right, my friends, have an amazing day. See you back here tomorrow. Go crush it.